right. This is Michelle back again with the Encounters Alla Prima, and I'm here with Sara McBride, and I'm going to paint her portrait while she tells me her story. I believe she wants to tell us about why she reads as much as she does, and she's got her Quidditch is the Shittich shirt on today, in case you can't read it, which is awesome, because I'm also a Harry Potter fan, and she's also apparently a Harry Potter fan.
I guess you could say the reason that I read, what I learned to read and learned to read books was because you have to kind of control all your focus in the book. You can't be thinking about other things. You can't be doing other things. And I needed to do that when I was going through a really rough time in my life. When my sister got really, really sick. She had cancer, and she had called us and told us that that she was stopping treatment. So it was really hard. I couldn't really function. I wasn't near my family at the time. I was living elsewhere, and I couldn't even watch TV, which was my favorite thing in the world. I would record so many things on my DVR, but I couldn't even do that because then my mind would wander. And so I just started reading, and I was reading constantly, and I was reading a book a day, and just during that whole week. And then I needed to travel down to Houston, down to MD Anderson, and I was traveling by myself where my siblings were all together, and I had to take a bus, a train, and then a plane all the way to Houston. So I would cry in the middle of public transportation, so I didn't want to do that. So I just constantly was reading. When my sister was getting sick, she was also reading, and someone had given her, and I'm not a big fan of Twilight, but someone had given her the 4 set of Twilight books, and I had already read them that previous week, because that's when I started reading, and someone said, okay, read Twilight. So I read all 4 books pretty fast. So she had jaundice really bad, and she was in the hospital, and she started not being able to see very well, so she wouldn't see to be able to read. So I just started reading it out loud to her, and I read out loud to her until, about a day before she passed away. I would read certain parts, and I think she loved that because her husband and her mom were all focused about taking care of her, making sure that everything was okay, and we had to make sure we could take care of her to get her home. She wanted to be at home, and so she never really got to just kind of disappear and forget about what's happening to her. And so I think she really enjoyed that time that we had together to, so she could kind of forget a little bit. It's just a really special time for us. So her husband gave me that 4 hard book set of books, so I have that books, and I did mark the page that we left off. We didn't even finish the first book, unfortunately. And that's kind of how it got started. But then I also learned that books are actually much better than TVs and movies. I mean, I learned that they're good. And Harry Potter ended up being some of my favorites. I read all of them within a 2-week time period. But gosh, I loved reading them, because then I would go back and realize all these things that made sense in the first 3, 4, 5 books. Mm-hmm. After you read the last one, you're like, oh my gosh, they were actually talking about this character. Oh, and it all made sense. She had it all planned out, and it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I'd say those are still some of my favorite books. And that's why I have my Quidditch is the Shittich shirt.